Pokemon Conquest, the best game you never played by JPR. I have never played Pokemon Conquest. Ever. It looked cool. Also, it's shiny Rayquaza. So it did look cool. But I was a kid with no money. I grew up in a family with no money. Games were a rarity. Anyways, let's jump in.
Warning, this video contains a lot of Japanese words that I may or may not butcher.
Yeah, the Japanese are gonna come after you and commit war crimes like they did in World War II. Anyways.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, it's JPR, and welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look back at the 2012 spin-off title Pokemon Conquest.
These people were just rocking legendaries. I find it funny. I find the cover is kind of funny. So in the middle we have Zekrom, right? Then we have Mewtwo, which the question is, how did Homie get access to Mewtwo? Articuno, Groudon, and then out down here you just have Jigglypuff. So everyone has a legendary except Girly down here.
Personal favorite of mine. I know last year I claimed the Pokemon Coliseum was the coolest Pokemon spin-off game, but honestly...
It is. I don't want to hear Pokemon Coliseum slander.
This game is so cool, if you threw it at the sun, it would stop global warming. Unfortunately, since its release nearly 10 years
But the sun isn't... Okay.
ago, it's become a game lost to time, and I know a ton of people who didn't get to experience this hidden gem of a game. To lay some context down, Pokemon Conquest is actually a crossover project between Pokemon and the classic tactical RPG, Nobunaga's Ambition. As such, in Japanese, the game is also known as Pokemon Plus Nobunaga's Ambition. Man, I thought my username was a bit too on the nose. Great job, marketing guy, I hope you get a raise for that. Now, I'm sure a lot of you watching have never even heard of the...
Yeah, I've never heard of these games. Not once. Nope. Never heard of them.
Nobunaga's Ambition series, so if I were to describe the
Looks like Fire Emblem to me, not gonna lie.
gameplay, I'd say it's very similar to the Fire Emblem series. Excuse me, I said Fire Emblem! Thank you, Editor JPR. No problem, Narrator JPR. You weren't supposed to reply. Anyway, imagine the gameplay is kinda like chess, but you can move your units around to any square in the field that you like. Kinda like checkers. The name of
I'm gonna be fully honest. The only reason that I even got into Fire Emblem is because I found the women hot. That's it. To be fair. That's the only reason why I even played Fire Emblem games. I found the girlies hot. Moving on.
the game is to position your units carefully, accounting for the range of the opponent, the terrain, and various other factors that arise during combat. To summarize the story without giving too much away, you are the warlord of one of the 17 kingdoms of the Ransei region, one for every elemental type. Except Fairy, that didn't exist yet. And in typical feudal Japan fashion, your goal is to conquer, unify...
Conquer. Duck Samax!
the 17 kingdoms, so the Pokemon that created Ransei will show itself once more. As you start claiming kingdoms in the south, Nobunaga, hey, that's the guy from the title, is steadily growing his army to the north. Inevitably, this leads to a clash between the two armies as the game progresses. And then, well, actually, I claim to love this game, but I haven't really...
If it doesn't have a dating sim part, I don't want it. Like, can you date the characters? The post game on this is like 5 times longer than base story. 5 times Wait, so the base story is much shorter than the post game. That is interesting, for whatever reason.
Played it since it came out, so give me a few minutes and allow the most Japanese warlord of all, John, to work his magic. In the meantime, please forgive any of my terrible gameplay that you might witness as I continue to recall various things. Let's start with the concept alone. Ancient Japanese warlords using Pokemon to conquer kingdoms? That is such a sick idea. It's basically Pokemon Legends Arceus, but like in mid-Gen 5, and with cooler combat. Instead of feeling like a spin-off, it almost feels like the natural history of the Pokemon world in the pre-Pokeball era. I've always felt like Pokemon could do so much more with various time periods in their games, but more often than not, even in the spin-offs, they just elect to use modern regular world, but with Pokemon. It's really cool to actually see them try and tackle something completely different. And by the way, it's worth noting that all the characters in this game are based on real Japanese warlords, many of them having the same characteristics and relationships that they did in real life. For example,
interesting. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Okay. This might be interesting to play as well. Who knows?
Did you know that Hideyoshi's partner Pokemon is Chimchar because his nickname in real life was Little Monkey? If that's not a Jeopardy question, I don't know what is. I owe this game a lot. It's the only reason I passed my Japanese Warlords test in World History class. No, I'm not kidding. I didn't study. The character designs also come from a different game that Nintendo and Koei Tecmo had worked on before, that being Samurai Warriors 3. Although the character designs are
interesting. I mean, the character designs do look good. Oh, this can be the war mentioned in Sinnoh. Like the starting part, maybe, who knows?
Largely the same, many of them had some revisions to better fit in line with their Pokemon of choice. Still, even if they are largely recycled from another game, I love the character designs in Conquest. This Zoroark guy in particular, he's got it going on. I think a lot of the credit is owed to the amazing sprite work in this game. For a DS game, it looks incredible. I'd say just as good, if not better than the DS Mystery Dungeon games, which I've praised a ton in the past. The art direction is just so good, it perfectly...
Yeah, the art design is very good. I like the character designs, yeah. But then again, they are recycled, but still. The Pokemon sprites looked fun as well.
Balances these complex, more mature-looking character designs with that familiar cartoony Pokemon aesthetic. So, getting back to the gameplay for a moment, if you're used to the average Pokemon spin-off, the amount of stuff to learn off the bat can seem a little overwhelming. But it's still manageable, I would say. Speaking of which, management of your units is very important as you continue to recruit new warriors, develop your existing kingdoms, and train your Pokemon. Fortunately, the delegate feature exists, allowing you to ensure your units are doing their job on a monthly basis. Being aware of your surroundings on and off the battlefield is important too, as hostile neighboring kingdoms won't always...
Wait a minute, hold up! Wait, does the map look like Arceus? That's just Arceus! The map is just Arceus! Yeah, this definitely takes somewhere place in Sinnoh at this point. Wait, it cannot take place in Sinnoh. Or does the Pokemon world look like Arceus? What?
Hostile neighboring kingdoms won't always be so patient with you sitting back and grinding, occasionally sending out a small fleet to attack your kingdoms, or just claim them if you're not careful and leave them empty. It's nice that they added this to keep you on your toes, because you can definitely afford to grind out your army's development at points during the story, since the passage of time ultimately doesn't mean much. Now, in the post-game, things such as weather, warriors getting sick, or abandoning the kingdom, thieves, and other factors can make it a lot harder to take the game at a more leisurely pace. It's a decent reminder that, hey, this is war, not a Little League scrimmage match. Another neat feature is being able to link with various wild Pokemon in case the Pokemon linked to one of your warriors is at a disadvantage to an upcoming kingdom, or you just outright hate one of your unit's Pokemon. Hey, don't look at me, Oichi's Jigglypuff doesn't do any damage. Who would want to be stuck with that thing? You can keep up to 4 Pokemon linked to most warriors, but be aware that not every warrior can link with every Pokemon, and not every Pokemon can reach their full potential with every warrior. It can be a tedious yet rewarding process to manually find every perfect link in the game, but thankfully, that's what Cerebi is for. There are only 200 Pokemon.
Interesting. So the main character can just I can just grab a Pokemon. Any Pokemon, considering that it's the main character? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know.
Pokemon in the game though, just under a third of what was available in Gen 5. For completionists who want to link with every Pokemon, this is probably a good thing, but it does mean that the Pokemon variety may not be as high as some people expect. It's not uncommon to recruit multiple warriors who use the same Pokemon. Well, with all that out of the way, let's get back to discussing the main story. Overall, it's a pretty decent length of about 15 to 20 hours, and although it's lacking some of the random post-game phenomena that I discussed earlier, it's still a decently challenging experience, I would say. Now, if you're looking for characters with a ton of depth and a story with twists and thought-provoking themes, then I'm sorry, this isn't Mystery Dungeon. This whole time, I thought I was forgetting something vital about the story, but it really is just, hey, let's conquer the entire Ransei region for fun. I don't really mind the narrative.
It's kind of funny, though. Yeah, okay. No, not a deep story. To be fair, that is not what I would have expected anyways. Come on, bro. It's a one-dive spin-off. What did you expect?
Of being kind of weak, though. At the end of the day, the gameplay more than makes up for it. But
did that thing just do 460 damage? Crazy work.
With that being said, the bulk of the content comes with the post-game episodes. Basically, the post-game consists of 33 stories, all focusing on the different warlords that you encounter throughout the game, fleshing them out a bit more and giving you further insight to their personalities and goals. There are also special episodes that you can download via Nintendo DS Wi-Fi. Let's see what those are all about. Well, somebody had fun with them. Now, normally I wouldn't complain about there being a lot of content in the post-game, because that's...
Well, I wonder if somebody was able to recreate those. Probably not. But still.
just silly, right? Who in their right mind would ever complain about a game having too much content? That's right, you guessed it, it's this guy. I do think that having to complete 32 episodes just to get to the main one that everyone really cares about at the end is a bit much. The difficulty of these episodes can also range from monotonously easy to, oh my god, I'm going to be stuck on this for the next week, aren't I? I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. I didn't finish it. As a matter of fact, I didn't even get remotely close to finishing it. It's a lot. I also don't really like how the main character you spent hours building up during the main story just vanishes for all but the last episode. You can't even replay the main story after you've beaten the game, you're just stuck with these episodes. The only reason this is as big of a deal as it is because many people would agree that the main story is really just an elongated tutorial for the post-game episodes where all the game's mechanics and features are ungated. Again, I wouldn't have minded just getting a new game
So you, the main character, you just vanish for like 80% of the game. Interesting.
Plus mode where you can replay the main story but with the game's full glory on display. Instead, I have to spend dozens of hours beating these episodes just to get my old character and Pokemon back. Let me be clear, I don't dislike the post-game. I just wish that they had handled it in an alternative way. Because man, that last story of the game looks sick. Too bad I'll never have the patience to experience it for myself. I'll just go back to watching it on YouTube, I guess. Interestingly, the end of the final episode actually appears to leave the door open for a sequel, as Nobunaga encourages the player to cross the sea and spread his message to foreign lands. Well, now the only question left to answer is, if critics love this game, and fans love this game, why is it so underrated, and why did they never make a sequel? Well, because ultimately the only thing that ever really matters to big companies is, wait for it, sales, which...
It didn't sell well. Base story, bunch of side episodes, the true story after those episodes. That's kind of a weird way to do it.
Conquest sadly did not produce. Marketing guy, you're fired! The game is estimated to have only sold about 350,000 copies in Japan, pretty below average for a Pokemon spin-off title, and sales numbers overseas were never published, which usually indicates that it was a flop. I think there were a lot of factors going against this game from the start, though. It was revealed and released both in Japan and overseas around the peak of Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 hype season. It was also notably the last Pokemon spin-off game to release on the Nintendo DS, a console that many young gamers were leaving behind by 2012. In fact, a year beforehand, Pokemon Rumble Blast had already become the first spin-off title to release on the 3DS, and Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity would also release on this new console by the end of 2012. Even Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 weren't immune to this, as they would go on to be one of the lowest selling Pokemon games despite being mostly new titles. I think more than anything, Conquest just came out at a bad time, shackled to a dying console and overshadowed by an infinitely larger Pokemon title releasing later that same year. Plus, with it being a crossover title, I imagine it's a bit harder to make from a logistical standpoint. There's a lot more people and properties involved compared to other spin-off series.
Considering, okay, that this is somewhat a unique spin-off, a unique collaboration, I wonder if things would have been different if it was actually the Fire Emblem team working on it instead of that team. How that would have affected the game in general. Who knows?
Which can do whatever they want for the most part. As a result, Conquest became one of the more obscure spin-off games as time progressed, which is a real shame considering the level of quality this game has to offer. Despite some of my minor gripes that I went over, I'd still say that Conquest is easily one of my top Pokemon spin-off games. If nothing else, it certainly offers a very unique Pokemon experience and is clearly aimed at an audience other than just small children. I don't really have any high hopes of us seeing this series come back, but I do hope it's one that more people discover over time. This is certainly a game that deserves to be remembered, if nothing else. Speaking of which, I hope you remember to subscribe if you've been enjoying the videos, and leave a big thumbs up on this one if you made it all the way to the end. It helps me out a ton. Thanks for watching today's video. I'll see you guys next time.
To be fair, I believe obviously that this was a one and done. Just like again, Colosseum was a two and done technically, right? Considering that it had 2 games. But even then, the Pokemon Company generally says that, like, if you ask them about certain spin-offs, that they say they're never gonna do it again. Junichi Masuda in an interview literally said, for example, he's never going to do another. They're never intending of doing another game like Colosseum. I think that goes for Conquest as well and many others. I mean, technically we do kind of get a Pokemon Stadium considering that we get Pokemon Champions, but would you really consider this a Pokemon Stadium considering that it is probably continuously going to be updated? So probably not. Anyways, interesting. I might play it. Who knows? I might. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe.